Back in 2009, the Federal Reserve set the funds rate at 0% and kept it there for 7 years. If all that time of low interest rates didn't cause inflation, what makes us think that raising interest rates is going to cure inflation today? That's what I'm thinking about. Recently, I read a really interesting article by Brian Westbury. Brian works for First Trust, and he's one of the economists that I think has some credence. I'll make sure we post a link to this article below. But what he talks about is the M2 levels. That's all the deposits accounts, savings accounts, checking accounts, all deposits in banks. And he makes the point that Milton Friedman said, listen, this M2 thing is what we should really pay attention to. And let's pull up a chart here from the Federal Reserve out of St. Louis and take a look. Of course, it's sloping, upwards to the right. Big spike when COVID came back in March of 2020 and all of the programs that went with that. But taking a look back, this has been on a pretty steady path, upward path. And take a look what this says to us here. From about 2004 to 2012, M2 increased 50%. That 8 years, take the following 7 years, M2 increased another 50%, 8 years, 7 years. In the last 2.5 years, the last 30 months, it's gone up 50%. So if Friedman's right, if we should be paying attention to M2 and the money supply and not interest rates, and it's been sort of a 7 or 8 year pattern, and now we get a 2.5 year pattern, maybe that tells us something. Maybe that's some messaging that we should be thinking about. And it's not the type of thing that you hear in most of the news sources, most of the information. And so it's not necessarily actionable. It's not like we should do something about this, but it's one of those things to be aware of. As you know, this video series is about things and looking at things from a different angle, looking at things from a different position, and what are we missing in our common sense, our common thoughts, right? Which conventional wisdom things aren't really wisdom. And so maybe this is one that, golly, all the talk about interest rates perhaps is not as effective. Consider that other side of things. So it's not actionable. It's not like we do something, but this might give us a different way of thinking about the world. And just paying attention, I'll tell you, one of the things I hear a lot of is, if you're a political person, whether the Democrats doing or the Republicans, take a look back at that chart from the Fed. We're going back to 2004. I mean, if you hear or you're a person that thinks, hey, the current administration is really causing inflation, if this M2 thing and the money supply is really driving it, take a look back, because it's the Bush administration, it's the Obama administration, it's the Trump administration, it's the Biden administration. Nobody's putting the brakes on M2 growing, right? And both on the right and the left of the aisle, those people were in power and not doing nothing to rein this in. So if there's a cause, it goes across. It's not a political thing, right? And again, I don't know that this is the right way to look at it, but it certainly is interesting. It's a different viewpoint, and that's what I'm thinking about today. As always, I'm interested in knowing what you're thinking about. If you're watching this on YouTube, drop a comment down in the comment box or shoot us an email directly, and thanks for watching.